Absolutely. Here's a cinematic, documentary-style YouTube article around titled, 66-Year Forgotten Mercedes, focusing on the storytelling, history, and legacy of a classic Mercedes model without mentioning handling condition. This article is ideal for a deep dive automotive video or voiceover. 66-Year Forgotten Mercedes, the hidden gem of German engineering. In the shimmering spotlight of automotive fame, Mercedes-Benz is a name often bathed in glory. From the luxurious S-Class to the iconic 300 SL Gullwing, the German automaker has gifted the world masterpieces of motion. But not every star gets its time to shine. Hidden in the shadows of history, tucked behind headlines and poster cars, lies a Mercedes lost in time, a vehicle that helped define an era, then quietly disappeared into the backroads of memory. This is the story of the 66-year forgotten Mercedes. A machine that carried innovation in its soul. A car that helped shape a brand, then vanished from mainstream conversations. A classic that deserves to be remembered, not for its fame, but for its legacy. The year was 1958, a world in transition. Let's rewind the clock. The post-war boom was well underway. The world was rebuilding, reimagining, and racing forward. In Germany, Mercedes-Benz had already begun its return to automotive excellence. The legendary 300 SL had made waves a few years earlier, but now it was time to focus on a different kind of mission, a car for the rising middle class, not just the elite. Enter the Mercedes-Benz W120 W121 inches Ponton series. Specifically, the Mercedes-Benz 180 W120 and its more refined siblings, the unsung heroes of the brand's evolution. While the Gullwing soared in headlines, the 180 quietly became the backbone of the Benz family in the 1950s. It's this car, produced around 66 years ago, that so few today talk about. The forgotten Mercedes, W120 W121 inches Ponton legacy. The Mercedes-Benz W120 was introduced in 1953 and continued production into the early 1960s, but 1958 marked a crucial year in its life. It was the year Mercedes refined its vision for this model, introducing subtle design tweaks, mechanical improvements, and strategic positioning for the global market. At the time, the W120 series was not just a car. It was the first Mercedes-Benz to feature a unibody design, a radical departure from the body-on-frame construction of the past. A model that brought safety, durability, and style to everyday buyers. A vehicle that quietly laid the foundation for the Mercedes midsize sedan legacy we know today. Despite its importance, few outside of the collector world remember the Ponton Mercedes today. Why? Because it didn't scream for attention. It whispered confidence, design, elegance and simplicity. The Ponton, nickname, German for pontoon, came from the car's rounded, streamlined fenders that flowed into the body. It was a significant design shift from the pre-war, separate fender era. This car felt modern. It looked unified. It looked European. Its lines were soft but deliberate. Chrome accents were used with restraint, never excess. The front grille bore the unmistakable three-pointed star, but not in a loud or boastful way. This was a Mercedes for the working professional, the diplomat, the upper-middle-class family. Inside, the cabin was a masterpiece of minimalism. Wood trim, clear gauges, metal switches, everything had purpose. Every stitch was a mark of Mercedes craftsmanship, engine and mechanical philosophy. Again, without diving into driving or handling specifics, let's focus on innovation. The Mercedes-Benz 180 W120 was available with several engine options through its life, including the 1.8L petrol engine, which provided reliability and respectable performance for its time. A diesel variant, the 180D, which became incredibly popular across Europe and developing markets for its durability and fuel efficiency, especially during periods of economic uncertainty. Mercedes wasn't chasing records with this car. It was building trust. It wanted people to feel confident that their car would start every morning, cross a continent if needed, and still retain its poise. And it worked. Global influence, the Mercedes that traveled the world. The W120 W121 wasn't just a German car. It was a global ambassador. In Africa, it served as taxis and government vehicles for decades. In South America, it became a reliable fleet vehicle for law enforcement and businesses. In Asia, especially in post-colonial regions, it represented upward mobility and prestige. And in Europe, it became a symbol of class and common sense, a car you could trust with your family and your future. By 1958, the Mercedes 180 had established itself as a car of universal appeal. And yet, over time, it faded from public consciousness, overshadowed by more glamorous models in Mercedes' storied catalog. Cultural moments, silent appearances. The 1958 Mercedes 180 may not have had a Hollywood spotlight, but it showed up where it mattered. It was seen in diplomatic meetings, post-war reconstruction scenes, middle-class suburbs blooming across Western Europe, photos of doctors, architects, and educators behind the wheel. It became a quiet cultural presence, the intelligent person's car. Why we forgot, the curse of the classic workhorse. The Mercedes W120's success was its own downfall. Because it was so reliable, so common, and so widespread, it never became exclusive. As newer models arrived, especially the Fintail W110 and later the W114-115s, stroke 8 inches series, the W120 quietly moved to the background. By the 1970s, many were scrapped, used for parts, or sent to emerging markets. Unlike the 300 SL or 600 Grosser, the 180 didn't become a collector's darling overnight. And yet, the impact it made. Massive, lasting, invisible, but essential. Survivors today, a niche community of devotion. Today, the Mercedes 180 and its Ponton siblings live on in the hands of passionate collectors. Some restore them to original showroom condition. Others modify them slightly, blending classic design with modern reliability. A few simply preserve them as rolling time capsules, reminders of a forgotten automotive age. Parts are still available through classic Mercedes specialists. Enthusiast forums and clubs continue to celebrate its legacy. And slowly, the world is beginning to remember what was once overlooked. The forgotten Mercedes is being rediscovered. Lessons from a 66-year legacy. What can we learn from a car like this? That not all greatness is loud. That being useful can be as valuable as being famous. That design, when done right, doesn't age, it evolves with grace. And that every legend begins somewhere, sometimes, in a modest German factory, with a dream of quality for all. Conclusion, a tribute to the unsung hero. The 1958 Mercedes-Benz 180 wasn't a supercar. It wasn't royalty, it wasn't glamorous, but it was something far more important. It was real, it served, it endured, it connected people, towns, and continents. It became the silent foundation on which Mercedes would build its modern reputation. And now, 66 years later, it's time to remember it, not as a footnote, but as a foundational chapter in the story of one of the world's most respected automotive brands. This isn't just a forgotten car. It's a forgotten legend. Would you like a matching YouTube title, description, and hashtags to go with this article?